Hello, my name is Jennifer Brandsburg-Engelman, and I'm the lead author and project lead at Regenerative Economics for secondary schools and beyond. In this short video, I'll introduce you to topic 4 on the commons. In the video, I'm going to explain why we've included the commons in our Regenerative Economics course. I'll review the core content that we've included in the textbook. I'll give you some recommendations if you have very little time. For example, if you have a mandated course and you only have a few lessons to devote to this. And then we'll zoom out to look at how you can use the materials generally. Before I get into our approach, it's helpful just to give a brief overview of the problem we're trying to address. In secondary schools, our courses in economics draw a very narrow systems boundary around markets and treat markets as though they are the economy. The problem with this is that all non-market activity is either marginalized, as in the case of the state, which is treated as a kind of external entity that intervenes, imposes, puts burdens on markets, or we have some elements of the economy that are completely ignored. So the household as a provisioning institution is ignored. We don't spend any time on the very, very important care and domestic work that happens there, the unpaid work. And then we have the commons, which is either completely ignored or, if it's addressed at all, is only discussed in the context of the narrative of the tragedy of the commons. So we're trying to rectify this invisibility of the commons, because including the commons as well as households and understanding the role of the state as well as markets is part of what it means to build a diverse and resilient economy in the 21st century. Rectifying the situation and recognizing the commons is extremely important, because powerful people have economics degrees in business and in politics, or if they don't have economics degrees, their advisors do. And the economic worldviews that we teach shape how they act. And the decisions and policies that we have right now with a misunderstanding or an ignorance about commoning means that many of the actions of both the state and of markets are undermining commoning, and also negatively affecting social cohesion and our general economic resilience. So again, the purpose of this regenerative economics course is to rectify this some of this ignorance around these different provisioning institutions. And in this particular section, we're working on the commons. So what are the commons? There are 3 elements to the commons. The first is that there is a resource that's involved. There is a community that shares this resource and has to work together to manage it. And there are a set of co-created rules around the management of the resource. This understanding of the commons, not as a thing, but as a relationship, has a number of really important implications. First of all, it means that a particular commons is unique to the community and the resource, because we're talking about different resources, different groups of communities and their cultures and their relationships, and different sets of co-created rules. It means that every commons is unique. It also means that commons are dynamic. They are evolving, they are relational, they are emergent, they're not static. Which can make it difficult at times to talk about the commons or to generalize about commons, but it's really important to understand the dynamic nature of them. Thirdly, there's significant overlap between commoning and households, markets, and states. The commons sometimes is discussed as an organizing institution outside markets and states, and this is true to some degree, but we also have to understand the extent to which commons are deeply entangled with these other provisioning institutions. Fourth, the commons, like other provisioning institutions, are deeply embedded in social and ecological systems. So they're not only entangled with one another, but they're entangled with all of the social factors that work to shape them and that they in turn themselves shape, and the ecological systems that they rely on for human provisioning. Commons as a provisioning institution is absolutely critical to healthy, diverse economies. They're invisible in our current courses, but commoning is happening all over the world. It's happening in every community, everywhere. It's particularly important in indigenous communities. It's not something new. It's been around for millennia, but having commons and healthy commons is extremely critical. Just like a diverse ecosystem is one that is more resilient, a diverse economy with different ways, healthy, different ways of organizing to meet human needs makes our economy much more resilient. Commons are also widely misunderstood, and that is because when we use the term commons out in the wild, we often hear it to refer just to a resource, rather than a resource, a community, and co-created rules. So it's really important to understand that it's not a thing, it's a relationship. And therefore, as well, you'll see in the textbooks that the textbook that we've created around commoning, that commoning is often used as a verb. It's active rather than being static. It's not, we do talk about the commons as a noun as well, but very often as a verb, we're using it, the term. Here's where the commons sits in the framework of the entire course. The entire Regenerative Economics course uses the embedded economy model from Donut Economics. What we've done in this course is we've widened the systems boundary. So instead of just focusing on this narrow provisioning institution of markets and treating this as the boundary, we've widened it right out. And therefore, you can see commons is here along with the other three provisioning institutions, markets, households, and states. Each one is given roughly equal treatment in the book to highlight the importance of this diversity of human organization. The economy sits inside wider society, and that means that values, power, culture, social norms, history, law, and politics are infused throughout our discussion of the economy. They're not somehow separate or different disciplines. So the Regenerative Economics course you can talk about as being transdisciplinary in that way. And the economy and society are both embedded in Earth systems. This is a recognition that every single thing we do in the economy requires living matter and materials and energy from Earth systems, and that every action we take also produces waste and heat that feeds back into those systems and can also damage them irreparably if we're not careful. So this is where the common sits inside the larger framework of the course. You can also see what that looks like in terms of the topics. We've got topic 1, which is a broad introduction to regenerative economics. Topics 2, 3, 4, and 5 address each of these provisioning institutions and their relationships with one another. Topic 6 is on money and finance, and topic 7 is on international exchanges. We have a separate topic on systems, not because systems are somehow separate, but because they need some clarification even outside of these different institutions. But systems and systems thinking is woven throughout each of these other topics. This is where you can find the resources in the textbook on the commons. So on the left-hand side in the menu, you'll see topic 4, the commons, and then underneath that, in the drop-down menu, you'll see 4 subtopics, and each of those subtopics has 4 sections. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through each of those subtopics so that you can see the sections and what content is included in the course. 4.1 are the basics. What are the commons? So we explore 4.1.1 is the commons as a system, its parts, relationships, and functions. So in part, this is what I briefly described to you at the start of the video. 4.1.2 addresses commons relationships with other provisioning institutions, households, markets, and state. 4.1.3 is about perspectives on the commons and addresses the tragedy of the commons myth. 4.1.4 picks up on Elinor Ostrom's Nobel Prize winning work on the commons and is about the 8 design principles of the commons. And this can help students really understand the conditions under which commoning works. And 4.1.5 is the role of care in commoning. So it picks up on this theme of care that runs through the entire regenerative economics work. 4.2 is about the spheres where commoning is happening. We've chosen this word spheres deliberately because it's difficult to talk of different commoning types because every commons is unique. I mentioned a few slides ago because it involves a resource, a community, and co-created rules, that every commons is unique. And so the spheres of commoning is a little bit more accurate than talking about specific types of commoning. 4.2.1 is about eco-stewardship of nature. 4.2.2, modern land commons. More specifically, community-supported agriculture and land trusts are used as examples. 4.2.3 is about the commoning that's happening in many urban environments around the world. 4.2.4 is on social commitment pooling, including mutual aid, time banks, local currencies, and forms of community wealth building. 4.2.5 is on the digital commons, and that addresses both shared digital resources and also some digital tools that support non-digital commoning. So among those things that are discussed there are the Creative Commons. And this book itself and the work that we're doing is an example of the Creative Commons. 4.3 addresses threats to the commons. This includes 4.3.1 on human nature dualism. That is this perspective that human beings are somehow separate from nature and the ways in which this undermines our ability to common. 4.3.2 is on enclosure and the ways in which commodifying or privatizing our shared resources prevents us from being able to common. Geopolitics, the competition for resources, lack of cooperation on planetary boundaries, and how that undermines commoning. And then lastly, a number of economic narratives, including scarcity narratives and the narrative around human selfishness and economic growth, efficiency and privatization, how all of these undermine commoning. The last section is about the more positive perspective around how we can better support commoning in our communities. And one of those is about 4.4.1 is about preventing enclosure. 4.4.2 is about providing physical infrastructure. 4.4.3 is the role of state power and policy, including its role in infrastructure, but also the legal recognition and authority that states can provide, states acting as a trustee, and also commons public partnerships. 4.4.4 is on financing the commons, and this focuses on what's called relationalized finance, which include examples such as crowdfunding, cooperatives, bioregional financing facilities, community currencies, state support, and also philanthropy. The last section there is about educating for commoning. This book is an example of how to do that. But this section discusses the role of schools, local initiatives, and media in spreading the word about commoning and helping young people and others develop the skills that are needed in order to common with others in their community. If you have very little time with students, my recommendation is that you consider taking up these three sections. One is the commons as a system, just so that students can even recognize that this kind of organization to meet human needs is happening. The one on perspectives of the commons, 4.1.3, is also really important because it helps sort of students to unlearn the tragedy of the commons myth. And 4.2.4 on social commitment pooling provides all kinds of really interesting examples of how commoning can happen in social groups, including mutual aid, time banks, local currencies, and community wealth building. What I'm going to do now is to give you just an overview of what the book looks like. So every section of the book is structured in the same way. It starts with a set of prior knowledge and helpful learning objectives. Helpful prior knowledge and learning objectives. So this helpful prior learning doesn't mean that students have to have covered these sections to understand 4.1.3. It just, what we're trying to do is to provide some links to earlier content in the book that can be reinforcing if students have tackled them before. There's also learning objectives, and those learning objectives come from the specifications here. So you can find the entire set of specifications by accessing that section of the website. Each section starts with a hook, so we try to start with an interesting story that might engage students' interest. Then we've got the main information input, if you will, and after that is a set of activities. Now, there's anywhere from 1 to sometimes 5 or 6 activities. We've tried to make these activities things that you can do with students in one class period because we recognize the constraints that teachers are under in trying to engage with this material. So you can see here, one of the activities is about challenging the tragedy of the commons myth, and we've taken a TED Ed video and also provided students the transcript of that video. And we're asking them to take a critical look at the information that's being presented in the video and to do some rewriting of the transcript in order to better and more accurately present what commons and commoning is about. After the activities are usually 5 questions. These are auto-marked for students, and they actually requested it because they liked having this kind of confirmation that they understand the text. So those are there for them in every section. We have a list of further exploration links, so if a student is really interested in a particular topic, that they have some other places to go to find out more information. We have a list of sources that we used in order to write the text that we've presented in the section, and there's a list of new terminology in the section and a link to a set of flashcards for that section so that students can play games with the terminology and learn some new vocabulary around the commons and commoning to help them understand it. There's also a feedback button here at the bottom, which can be used if you want to say something about the materials, if you found something hard to understand, or if you'd like to compliment the materials, or you find a mistake. That feedback button is the place to go to give us your perspective. So just zooming out a little bit from this particular section and the commons in general, just to give you an idea of how you can use regenerative economics generally in your course. Many of you watching this will probably have mandated courses, A-Level, IB, Cambridge International, CBSE, the Australian National Curriculum, etc. If you have to teach a mandated curriculum with a high-stakes exam at the end, you might not have much time. But what you can do is to seed your courses with regenerative economics material as and when you can. And to help you with this, we have created some curriculum maps, and we're adding new maps all the time. But if you can find those just under the textbook section with support videos and curriculum mapping. And when you click on a particular map, it will take you to a spreadsheet that will have your curriculum content in the first column, some links to potentially relevant regenerative economics content in the second column, along with some additional comments and notes about how you might use that material or why it might be important to include it. So we're adding more curricula all the time. If you don't see your curriculum there, you can also write to us and let us know that you're keen to have it mapped, and we will try to take care of it. But that's what it means to seed your courses. Teachers who are doing this or using the materials in any context are often using a flipped classroom style. So they're having students read materials at home, maybe take a few notes on them, and then they're using the class time to do the activities, either ones from the book or ones that they come up with themselves. If you have more flexibility, you might be able to create an elective around even maybe a unit, a semester, a year, or even a 2-year long course. You could also integrate the regenerative economics materials into other subjects, or even start an extracurricular group. Some students could even do a self-study group because the materials are written for them. Some places where we've seen teachers take up regenerative economics outside their mandated courses include choice topics in the Netherlands, the theory of knowledge in the IB, the EPQ at A levels, and you may also have project work, for example, that could be relevant. And lastly, we can encourage you to get involved with reviews of economics. So if you know that your education authority is doing a review of economics and is including consultation with teachers on this, we would really like to encourage you to participate because we need more voices for change. Inertia is really powerful, and so we need as many voices as possible sitting at the table advocating for reform of the economics discipline. So take whatever opportunities you have, make your voice heard, and also get in touch with us because we can also support education authorities with their reviews and help make it easier for them to adopt a new paradigm. Your action, your engagement with this project really matters, and not just quiet engagement in the background, although that's great for your students, but we'd like to have your loud engagement by letting us know what you're doing because we have this amazing window of opportunity right now. The International Baccalaureate, the Netherlands are both reviewing specifically economics at the moment, and it's very important that those institutions know that people are interested in this change, that they want changes in this direction. England and Scotland are reviewing their entire national curriculum right now, and so we are also hoping that this work that we're doing and the work that you're doing can feed into those processes as well and get change in those curricula. Our theory of change is that if we can shift these 4 institutions that we know are working on this now, that we could set off global social tipping points in secondary economics education around the world, and that would have further implications for university education and also shifts in wider society. So your action is important. It might seem small what you're doing in your classroom, but if you let us know, we can also amplify that. We can combine your work with others, and we can let these institutions know that teachers want these changes. This is the website, regenerativeeconomics.earth, along with a QR code that will take you there. If you'd like support, if you need some advice about what to do in your context, or you'd like to get in touch for any other reason, my email address is on the website. My calendar is there as well, that you can make an appointment. I'd be glad to have a chat and give you some help. Thanks a lot for your engagement, and we hope to hear from you.